Hello, everyone. Welcome. I'm so thrilled that you're on this webinar with us. We have people from around the world, Janine, men and women. It's so exciting. And don't you just love the title of this webinar? Travel more, way less. I mean, who doesn't want that, right? I mean, I'm right there. You know, this is going to be a fairly casual call. We have such great content for you. So we're going to mute the call and record it so you can listen to it afterwards as well. So if you have any questions, just go ahead and type them in the chat window, or you can email me while we're talking, and we'll make sure we get some of those answered by the end of the call. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm Carol Margolis, which a lot of you do know, and I'm the CEO of Smart Women Travelers. And I'm here today with my very best friend and my personal health coach, Janine Moran. Say hi, Janine.
Hi. Hi, everyone.
Janine is a certified integrative nutrition weight loss coach, and she's the founder of Healthy Living Blueprint. I love that name too. And today we're teaming up to share with you some of our tried and true weight loss tips, especially when you're on the road traveling, which I know many of you do for business and as well as for pleasure. So Janine and I have been road warriors for a lot of years, more than we care to admit, and we can't wait to share our do's and don'ts of being healthy on the road and things that you can do to avoid packing on the pounds. You know, we just wait till airlines start charging us for that, right, Janine? You know, for all the extra weight that we're carrying on. So
that and emotional baggage, as long as they don't charge for that, right?
Yeah, really, that's probably even more. Anyway, what we're going to be sharing with you today relates to you whether you're traveling or whether you never travel at all. It works for home and on the road. So that's a great thing. So get yourself comfortable. I've poured myself a cup of tea, and turn off your phone and your email, and maybe get a notepad to take some notes, though we will be sending out the slides afterwards. And I'm going to turn this over to Janine. Take it away.
Thank you, Carol. Well, hi, just like Carol said, I'm Janine Moran, and before we get started on some really great content, I thought it would be good just to explain why it is that I'm on the call here with you today, and why you should listen to me talk about things like weight loss and travel. Well, like Carol said, I'm a certified integrative health coach. I specialize in weight loss, and I studied at the world's largest nutrition school called the Institute of Integrative Nutrition. But probably most importantly, I want you to know that I too struggled with weight loss. And like Carol said, I was a road warrior for many, many years. In fact, Carol and I used to travel together each and every week. And I've got a lot of tales that I could tell you about Carol's and my travel adventures, most of them involving a bottle of wine or two, occasionally,
Everything.
occasionally even three, I think, and usually a plate of cheese and crackers. And year over year, we kind of just watched our waistline expand, and it's always subtle when it starts. That's the funniest thing. And then, you know, each year I probably put on in the vicinity of, I don't know, somewhere between 2 and 10 pounds, you know, depending upon the level of indulgence. And before I knew it, I had 30 pounds excess weight that I was carrying around. And that's really when I was like, oh my gosh, now I've got a lot of weight to lose. How am I going to do that? Well, after experimenting with so many different programs, and I want to tell you, there's no one program that's perfect for everyone. What I found is that you've got to find what works for you and your body, and having the help of a coach can really help with that as you experiment and learn what works for you. We're all individuals, so you know, Carol, what works for Carol won't necessarily work for me. As we say in the health industry, one person's food is another person's poison. And so that's what I love about what I do. It's really working with the clients and finding what works for them and making sure that we fit it into your lifestyle, so it's not just this huge shift. You know, that's not sustainable. There's no such thing as a crash diet. And we don't want the pendulum to swing from, you know, one end to the other, because you're not going to be able to sustain that. So we have a bunch of travel tips that we're going to share with you today, right, Carol?
That's right. I'm ready.
I am going to do the share screen and get started in just a second.
Okay, while you do that, I just wanted to let everyone know why I brought Janine to you. You know, I've been struggling with my weight for since I was 14 years old. And I've been up and down, and I've lost a lot. I've lost over 50 pounds in the last couple of years, and I'm doing these really great nutritional shakes, but I've been at a little bit of a plateau. And so I started working with Janine, and then I realized that a lot of you have been emailing me and sharing on Facebook and Twitter that you've got similar challenges with the weight gain, especially on the road, you know. So I wanted to just share Janine with you, and what's worked for me, I know will work for a lot of you as well. And like she said, it integrates with whatever eating plan that you're doing now and really puts some really fabulous tweaks to it. So Janine, you've got the PowerPoint up, so I'll turn it back to you.
Well, let's get into some good content. Well, I want you to know that you're in the right place. If you've tried all sorts of diets and in the long run nothing has really worked for you, and maybe your travel schedule has really interfered with any weight loss efforts that you have, you're in the right place if you crave certain foods and beverages. I know for me, for example, at 3 o'clock every afternoon, I feel like I need that sweet treat. Otherwise, I'm going to chew my arm off, or perhaps someone else's arm, and no good can come of that. But if you crave certain foods and beverages at specific times, sometimes salty, sometimes sweet, you're in the right place. And if you suffer from bloating, constipation, irritable bowel syndrome, or fluid retention, and that happens especially when we travel, then we've got some great tips to share with you. And if you really don't know how to be healthy when you're on the road, you don't know how to ask at a hotel or a restaurant the things that they can do for you to help you stay on track, then you're in for a treat today, because Carol and I are going to share that with you. So Carol, I know that you know this because you are actually one of the millions of people who had a food sensitivity, and like so many of us, you had no idea. So if you wouldn't mind sharing what you discovered by working with me and what you learned as it relates to food sensitivities.
I will. You know, I've been a studier of nutrition for a long, long time, but didn't relate a lot of these things to my own issues. I thought my own issues were kind of normal. The fact that when I got off the plane, I would have, you know, cankles, you know, the ankles that go up to the calves and you can barely get your shoes back on. And the other thing that I was having was, you know, a lot of congestion, pretty much a box of Kleenex in every room in my house. And I thought congestion was just normal. And you know, and then recently I've had a couple of inches of waist gain, like 2 inches around my waist over the holidays. So, you know, that was telling me something's going on, because I had been eating pretty healthy. And, you know, I've tried to record all that I'm eating to see, you know, what are my calories. But you guys know when you're traveling, who's got time for that? And it's like impossible when you're eating in restaurants so much. So, you know, that one went out the window. So, you know, those are some of the issues I've been having that I thought were normal. And boy, have I learned otherwise, Janine, haven't I?
So let me share with you, that's a perfect lead in to what we're going to cover on the call today. So Carol and I have got a whole bunch of tips around some different things that are really going to make your life, especially on the road or dining out, a lot easier. So we're going to cover how to survive a road trip, especially a family road trip, a journey where you don't necessarily have to pack on the pounds. We're going to tell you what you can do on a plane to help you stay healthy, with things like packing and planning to pack with you, and also things that you can either purchase before or as you arrive. We're going to explain how you can live healthy in a hotel, and we're going to share our list of daily to-dos that don't just involve having to exercise like a mad woman in the gym. I'm not a gym junkie, and I've got to tell you, that wouldn't work for me. We're going to give you some dining out tips, help you with knowing what to ask, and even give you some great suggestions on where to eat, and most importantly, where not to eat, so that you can survive eating out even though you're trying to be healthy. And then I'm going to share the most common non-healthy culprits. And this is my favorite part, because I think these days it's so deceiving, things that are marketed or branded as being healthy, and actually they're not so good for our health, and you should perhaps stay away from some of these problematic foods. So let's dive into what we're going to suggest, that as you're traveling for any upcoming trips that you have, some healthy things that you can do either during the flight or in preparation for that flight. I'm going to pick out my top 3, and I know Carol's going to want to throw in a couple as well, but we're going to try and keep this moving fairly quickly because we've got a lot of content we want to get through, and we don't want to tie up your time all afternoon. So let's go ahead and get started with some suggestions. I always recommend that you bring with you before you fly some healthy snacks. And these can be things that you either make at home, like roasted spicy chickpeas, and I know that's one of Carol's favorites, or maybe something like boiled eggs. Or you can pack something as simple as fruit or nuts, or a low sugar protein bar. And one of my favorite bars that I carry with me, actually most of the time, is a Kind bar, and I've mentioned it here on the slide. I always choose the ones that are low in sugar, and these are my one of my healthy go-to options. But having said all that, if you're flying at a time that's actually not a meal time, I'm going to recommend that you don't actually eat on the flight. A lot of us, I think, just get in the habit of eating out of boredom and just mindlessly snacking because we're stuck on a plane. But I'm going to suggest to you that if it's not meal time, or if it's not a time that you need to have a snack like morning tea or afternoon tea, then skip that desire to fill your boredom with eating and do something else instead, like take advantage of getting some rest, read a book, or listen to a meditation tape, something like that, and just make the most of the time that you're disconnected from the rest of the world and unplug. And that's a better use of your time than madly or mindlessly snacking. The other thing that I really recommend that you skip is the alcohol. I know it's tempting. We all like to have an adult bevy every now and then, but if you can try and avoid the alcohol, the caffeine, and the soda pop, you're going to do yourself a big favor, and it's really going to help you with preventing things like the fluid retention that causes cankles that are never so flattering. So instead of that, opt for a bottled water, and if you need to, because I'm not a big drinker of plain water, I always like to enhance mine with a flavoring. I use Stur, and again, I've referenced that on the slide, STUR. It's naturally sweetened with stevia, which is a plant-based sweetener. It's a natural sweetener. If you can, always try and stay away from any artificial sweeteners like aspartame or sucralose, which is another name, by the way, for Splenda. So stay away from those because your body doesn't know how to process those. Carol, I know you're going to have a couple of tips that you want to share too.
I do a lot of early morning flights. So what I do is I usually pack a couple of hard-boiled eggs. And, I'm leaving home and I'm eating them within a couple hours, so they're fine. I also love to do lettuce wraps, whether it's whatever meal I'm flying. And, I might put some mashed beans in them, some avocado, some other vegetables, and I wrap them up in a napkin in a plastic bag, and they make a fabulous meal on a plane. And the other thing is, airports are really getting better at offering us healthier foods. You'll find them in restaurants as well as a lot of the freestanding places. You'll find some great salads. I've actually found hard-boiled eggs in airports now. So look around, and the more we ask, the more we're going to see that increasing. And hopefully you're not getting off the plane when you get to your destination with those dreaded cankles, right? And yeah, so I think those are some great flight tips that have worked for Janine and I. And I know once we get to the hotel, new challenges come about. And so when I check into a hotel, I like to stay at some of the suite hotels like Staybridge, because they're not only are they more room, but they also have the full kitchen, so they've got the refrigerator. But you could ask for a refrigerator as well to be brought to your room. And, you know, I'll keep my water, my fruits, and my snacks in the refrigerator, or my eggs if I haven't eaten them, or I buy some more along the way. I also try to get a room far away from the elevator, not all the way to the stairwell, because, you know, but, you know, not right next to the elevator. So I get my steps in. I try to shoot for 10,000 steps a day. Might walk around the parking lot a little bit. I also, when I eat breakfast at the hotel, I like to start my morning with a protein omelet. And I'll ask the omelet to be cooked dry, so they're not, you know, lading the pan with a lot of oil before they cook it. I'll get it with vegetables like spinach or tomato. I love onion in my omelets. I love the cheese, but I avoid the cheese. And instead of any hash browns or toast or potatoes, I just ask for sliced tomatoes on the side. And restaurants are really happy to accommodate. So that's what's been working for me. Janine, how about for you?
Oh yeah, I think that absolutely. The restaurants are very open to trying to help. And one of the things that I've suggested to some of my clients who have gluten intolerances, or perhaps they're a celiac and they can't have gluten, is actually to pack your own bread with you, your favorite brand of gluten-free bread, whatever that might look like. Actually take it with you and ask the hotel if they wouldn't mind toasting it for you. And they're more than happy to be able to accommodate something like that. So if you really do want to have a piece of that toast with your breakfast, with your omelette, ask them to toast up your own brand of bread. Another thing that I think really helps with exercising, and this also is one of those things that helps with relieving fluid retention, is something called rebounding. And so if you're not a big exerciser and you don't want to work out in the gym, and or you don't want to do, you know, 3 laps around the parking lot, for example, this is something that you can do in the privacy of your hotel room. And rebounding, and you can look this up, but rebounding is something kind of like bouncing on the spot, and I don't mean jumping. Your feet don't have to leave the floor, but if you rebound up and down in the spot for a good few minutes, it actually helps. It's considered a lymphatic exercise. It helps all of your cleansing organs be able to be more efficient, and it'll help your body rid itself of the excess fluid. So it's a great tip to be able to eliminate any fluid retention, particularly from traveling. So I'm going to move on now to some dining tips. You know, when you're eating out, and I'm not going to go into too much detail, because actually as a free gift for signing up for the webinar, you're going to receive the survival guide, the dining out survival guide, and it's going to have a lot more detail and go into a lot more lists of things that you can do when you're dining out, things to look for than what I'm going to share with you on the call. But just let me quickly mention. Well, first of all, I'm going to send that out to you this weekend, so keep an eye out for that. It'll be coming your way this weekend. But at the base of this pyramid, and this is a great visual guide of where you can safely eat, located at the bottom of the pyramid, and then as you start going up the pyramid, this is really where you need to start treading carefully. So places that I like to frequent that are in the base of that pyramid are Mediterranean or Mexican. And actually these restaurants are great because they tend not to use a lot of sugar in most of their meals. They tend to do a lot of grilling, and so they don't use sugar and they don't have a lot of gluten. And they're probably the two biggest tickets that you want to look out for. So you can choose a lot of healthy options. Fajitas are great. Get a naked fajita, for example, and you can pile on the guacamole, and it's a delicious and healthy menu option for you. A couple of things. I always ask for my dressing or sauce on the side. That way I can control how much I'm consuming. And as a general rule, the ones that I would recommend that you stay away from are Thai or Chinese, those kinds of restaurants. Absolutely stay away from gas stations. But if you, not that you don't find healthy foods in restaurants like Thai and Chinese, but as a general rule, they tend to be prepared with MSG, and they have more sugars in their sauces. And so usually I try and stay away from Thai and Chinese, especially when I'm on the road. Carol, what other advice do you want to share with the audience today?
You know, I started asking a server at a restaurant my favorite question, but then I changed up my question. I started by asking, what's the healthiest menu item that you have? And when they would tell me, sometimes I would like it and sometimes I wouldn't. So I got smarter. Now I ask, what are the 2 healthiest items on the menu? And that way I'm a good eater, so I'm pretty well guaranteed to like one of them, because I used to feel bad when they would tell me the healthiest and then I wouldn't order it. So just ask, what are the 2 healthiest items on the menu? And again, a restaurant is usually more than happy to prepare the meal to your liking, without oil, without sauces, things on the side. All you need to do is ask. And when they do prepare it to your liking, I love to have the server give thanks to the chef, because I really appreciate when they do that for me. So that's my dining out tip, because I can usually find something healthy about everywhere. And, but not everybody's dining out all the time. They may be dining out in their car while they're driving. I know, I do a lot of driving trips, and when I'm driving and I'm behind that wheel and staring at just a boring road, I always want to reach over and start eating. And so we've got some tips for those of you who do a lot of driving. And, there's a sense of freedom when you're driving versus flying. You can pack big liquids, you can pack a big suitcase. So what I do pack is a small cooler, and, like a lunchbox size, and I'll have like an ice pack in there, and I'll have some apples, I'll have some fresh cut up vegetables, I'll have some of those roasted chickpeas that Janine gave me the recipe for that I am in love with. I have all kinds of snacks for eating, not only while I'm driving, but when I make a stop for the bathroom or just to stretch my legs. So bring a lot with you, and that will avoid the starving that has you pulling off the road and hitting the nearest McDonald's. But speaking of McDonald's, you can actually get some healthier salads now, grilled chicken at a lot of these fast food places as well. And again, they'll personalize your menu offering to some extent everywhere you go. You can ask for a grilled chicken without the bun. So there's a lot of things you can do while you're driving. And I always bring a lot of water, because, you're sitting there, your legs are getting swollen, the cankles are showing up in the car. They follow you everywhere, don't they? So bring a lot of water. So Janine, how about you? What would you add to that?
I think there's some great tips. Yeah, even though you might have to make a few extra bathroom stops, definitely keep your liquids up, drinking. And it's good to get out of the car and stretch every few hours. It really does help with your circulation. And that too will help eliminate that fluid retention in the cankle. So I always recommend that. But probably the one thing that I'm going to say, Carol, is don't do what I did on my first road trip. I was so organized. I packed this wonderful, we call it an esky, the cooler, we call it an esky in Australia. I packed up this esky with every healthy thing I could possibly imagine. I put it in the boot of my car, and I went on my way, and then I realized that, oh no, I've got to actually stop the car, park, get out of it, go to the boot of the car in order to the trunk, to get my snacks out. So my tip to you is make sure that it's easily accessible. So, maybe if you're traveling on your own, put it in the front seat. If you've got a passenger, put it close by in the back seat, because it kind of defeats the purpose when you go to all the trouble of getting yourself organized and then you mindlessly put it in the trunk of your car where it's not at all convenient.
Yeah, and you want convenient things to eat so it doesn't take your attention away from driving. I know, I've spilled things on myself while I'm eating or drinking in the car, and then you kind of have a reaction. So that's not good. So bring things that are just easy and clean to eat while you're driving, and eat the other things when you've stopped.
That's a great suggestion. So now I'm going to get into, this is probably my favorite part of when I work with clients, is really help them to understand what foods work for them and what foods work against them. And I'm kind of geeky like that, because each and every one of us is a unique individual. And like I said earlier, one person's food is another person's poison. So after working with clients, what we always do is we start with an elimination program, because it's kind of like doing a little bit of spring cleaning, and you want to start with a clean slate. And then I work with my clients to help them introduce all of the different food groups that we've eliminated. Now, I've put some culprits up here on the slide, because these tend to be the ones that most people have sensitivities or reactions to. They have some kind of adverse reaction. But even though we're going through an elimination program, on the right-hand side of the slide, you can see that there are such great substitutes out there so that no one ever need feel deprived. So instead of gluten, for example, you can try quinoa, rice, or if you're a big pasta person, maybe switching it out and trying some of the vegetable pastas like the zucchini pasta noodles. I've got a spiralizer, and my kids, they love to help me make my vegetable pasta noodles. So the most interesting part for me is that, like I said, everyone is unique. And I thought, Carol, perhaps you would speak to what it was like when we introduced things for you and what it is that you liked most about what you learned out of the process.
You know, what I liked most was how great I felt within such an extremely short time once I just took the gluten, the dairy, the corn out of my diet. I didn't think I was eating that much of it, but there was a noticeable difference, though I guess I was. I was eating a lot of cheese. One of the biggest benefits, the most interesting one, is how I've really found pleasure in eating. I mean, I've tried some of these foods on the right here, like nutritional yeast, that I've never tried before. And I've been cooking with cumin. It's a spice I've never tried before. So it's been really fun, really falling in love with cooking just by some simple recipes. And, you know, my list of symptoms, I thought everything was normal, that I was so congested, etc. But a lot of that has gone away, except when I have introduced some of these items, and I introduced cheese back into my diet, instantly congested again. And over the Easter holiday, I had mashed potatoes that were made with milk. I had a ham that I hadn't eaten, you know, and that's had a sugar, brown sugar topping to it. And I was really itchy afterwards. That before working with you, Janine, I just would have chalked it up to, you know, oh, well, it's not food related. Who would connect the dots? But I think it was the dairy that I ate. So it's really interesting to see how my body is reacting to these foods in a positive and a negative way.
Yeah, I love this part, working with clients, because, like I said, everybody has a different reaction. One of my clients learned through this process that she's actually sensitive to bananas. And when she eats a lot of bananas, so she can tolerate maybe half a banana without seeing any symptoms, but when she eats a lot of bananas, like one a day or something like that, she gets really itchy ears, and she was never able to connect, you know, why every now and then she'd get these extremely itchy ears, because typically no one does connect it to their diet. And that's what I love about this program, and why I say each and every one of us is unique. And so I wanted to share with you the actual program that Carol did with me, so that you've got an idea of how this works. And I think that Carol said this best when she said, you learn to enjoy food all over again. You learn to have an appreciation of what really nourishes your body and what your body thrives on. And you learn to connect the dots on really what's giving you a disservice, the food that sometimes we put in our mouths that our body really does not respond well to. So I have this wonderful program, and it's 28 days of fat shredding. So most of us would like to be able to shed the pounds, and for most of us who are traveling, it's very hard for us to do. So this program I've updated to include a travel component to help you out when you're on the road. I include a recipe book, and in there's some great cook-ahead recipes, like those spicy roasted chickpeas, that you can actually prepare in advance and take with you on the road, and that's going to help you be able to maintain your healthy habits. Now, if you have tried different diets before, and I don't think of this as a diet, I actually think of this more as finding what works for you and your lifestyle so that it can sustain you for the long run. And 28 days is a good period of time for you to be able to figure out what works for you, or what things you might need to tweak within your lifestyle. So just quickly, here's what you can expect, the kind of benefits that you can expect. And Carol spoke to some of these, and I might ask Carol again just to share some of the benefits that she got out. But you can expect by working with me for 28 days, you're going to find what food sensitivities you have. And sometimes they are the weirdest foods, like my client I was mentioning in the case of bananas. You're going to learn which foods really fuel your body, and that's what's going to help you jumpstart your metabolism and release that excess weight. I want to be clear that this is not a diet, a restriction diet where you starve yourself or you're calorie counting or anything like that. We actually want to nourish your body by eating 5 or 6 times a day. And what that's going to do is kickstart your metabolism, and it's going to drive your energy from stored fat instead of the glucose that's in your body. And so that's a really good way for you to be able to, in a relatively short period of time, drop pounds and inches. One of my clients lost, I think, 2 inches off of her waist. And by dropping that 2 inches off her waist, people were like, oh my gosh, you look like you've dropped 20 pounds. And she had certainly lost some weight, but it was nowhere near 20 pounds. But that's what happens when you start giving your body what it needs. Your body is such an amazing system, it really is. And what we've come to do, I think, is just succumb to the lifestyle of convenience. And that's why I love being a coach, is helping you find what works for your body. You'll get rid of inflammation, you'll get rid of digestive issues, you'll get rid of bloating, and any kind of inflammation, those cankles and things like that, all that fluid retention, it's going to help you with all of that. But like I said, it's not a juicing plan, it's not a starvation plan, it's nothing like that. You'll actually be eating real foods. And this is just a sample of some of the recipes. I worked with a whole food chef to prepare a recipe book that has, I think it's got over 80 recipes now, of delicious, wholesome foods that are actually family friendly and easy to prepare. And Carol, I know that some of your favorites are mentioned on this slide, but perhaps you want to share with them, some of the things that now are just part of your favorite recipes that you like to prepare on a regular basis.
I know, I've really been having fun with these foods, and those roasted chickpeas are so travel friendly. They don't smush in your bag. They don't smell in your bag. They last the whole, the week that they don't last me a week. They last about 3 days because I just love them. But the other thing I love is the lettuce, cabbage, apple salad. And that's another really travel-friendly salad because that'll last for the day of your travel, and you can ask for some lemon and squeeze that on as dressing, so you don't need to travel with that. The recipes have been really fun and just excellent.
And I think that's something that we offer flexibility in the recipes that we provide, and I'll give you an example. One of my favorite meals is the breakfast frittata with onion and kale. And, kale, I would say, is not necessarily people's top #1 vegetable pick, and a lot of people would prefer spinach over kale. And so this is one of the things that we work together to say, well, that's all right, let's substitute spinach or, another alternative green, just to make sure we're getting enough greens in the diet. But honestly, the recipes are knock your socks off delicious. So let me tell you how this program works. So for 28 days, you'll have access to your own personal health coach, health and weight loss coach, and that would be me. And I want to give you everything that you need to set you up for success. So I always start the program with a kickoff call, and that's really a great opportunity to answer any questions that may come up, but it also explains what you can expect and the guidelines for the forthcoming week. And then each and every week, I have another live call so that I can help you understand what's coming in the next week, what the primary focus areas are. And again, it's a great opportunity for you to ask any questions or let me know if you're struggling in any particular areas. The reason I do this is because it's very difficult for people to do something like this on their own. I mean, if we could all do these kind of programs on our own, we would all be thin and happy, and we would have done it a long time ago. And so I do a lot of hands-on approach, and I do step by step to help guide you, to help encourage you, sometimes really to be, the tough love accountability partner. But I want you to have the best success during that 28 days, and that's part of what I include in the program. You get 28 days of a daily menu plan, and that's going to help help you with your planning so that you understand exactly what you're going to eat every meal of the day. And I suggest 5 meals, and sometimes it's actually hard to get 5 meals in. Sometimes people aren't hungry, and that's a great thing. To be able to say that you're on a program and you're not hungry is a great thing. There's a program guidebook, there's a daily protocol workbook. I told you the recipes are it's going to be your favorite recipe book. And then something that I found most people get the most out of is actually the Facebook group. I set up a private Facebook group where everybody who's doing the program with you gets together as a community, and we really help support each other. We encourage each other, we do recipe shares, we ask questions. Carol, actually, maybe you could just give a quick message about the what you found with the community when you did the program with me.
Yeah, you know, it was just a lot of fun. We were taking photos of the foods we were making. We were meeting friends from around the world. We learned that different foods are called different things in different countries. It was really a supportive, instantly great friends supporting one another.
Yeah, I think some of these people become lifelong friends, because you really get that connection and you really become, you just connect with like-minded people, and it's a great way to get the support so that you don't ever have to feel like you're doing it alone.
I think that's the most important part, because, you know, if we're out there traveling for business, we're a lot of independent women and men. And so we think we can do this on our own, or at least that's what I thought. And it wasn't until, you know, you've got friends that are doing this with you that you really feel like, wow, you know, I needed the accountability, I needed the friendship, the support, and what a world of difference.
Yeah, the encouragement too, it just makes a huge difference. So when I was planning this with Carol, we thought it would be great if we included a couple of bonuses for you. So if you're interested in doing this program, and it is a great program, Carol will attest this, and I have so many other great testimonials. But I wanted to make sure that you really had that personal touch, and if you had any particular struggles, I offer a 45-minute personalized strategy session with me, and this is something that we do in relation to what your personal goals or what you want to get out of the program. And perhaps, for example, you've got some challenges, or you've got some areas that you're struggling with, then what we'll do is work together to come up with, you know, a strategy and a list of different things that you can do to help you jump over any hurdles that might be getting in your way. And so that's a tremendous value, I think, to be able to have that one-on-one time with your own personal health coach. I also have this wonderful guidebook, and it's 6 essential strategies to bust through your weight loss plateau. And this is always great to have in your back pocket, because all of us get there no matter what. We all hit that dreaded weight loss plateau, and when you're stuck and you get frustrated because you think you're doing everything right, this is a great guide to refer to, so that it can help you do some things to change your lifestyle up, or just to help prompt you to get through that weight loss plateau and get you back on the way to losing weight. So you're probably wondering, all right, Janine, this all sounds great, but how much does this cost? Well, the program has a cost of $297, and what I usually do is I offer an early bird discount. So I knock $100 off that for my early bird pricing, and I price it at $197. And the reason I discount it so heavily is because I really want for this to be as affordable as possible, to help, you know, many people who are just like you be able to get your health, your wellness, and your weight loss back on track. But because Carol is such a dear, dear friend, and you're part of her Smart Women Travelers Network, we've reduced that even further, and I'm offering the 28 days at a no-brainer price, really, of only $97. And so if this sounds pretty good to you, then I would encourage you to go online to joinjanine.com. That's join Janine, JeAnnine.com, because that's where I put together a special page just for Carol Smart Women Traveler Network, and you can take advantage of that $97 price. If you go out to my regular website, you'll see it there listed for $297 or an early bird special of $197. But you guys, you get to have your own special pricing, and you can go to joinjanine.com to be able to access that. Now, what will happen when I receive your order form is I'll send you a welcome email, and it's going to have all the information that you need to be able to set you up for success. And it's going to include the details for the kickoff call. You're going to get a lot of the upfront preparation material so that you can review that at your leisure. You can get comfortable with it. You're going to have access to things like the shopping list, the menu guide, the recipe book, the workbook, everything that you can imagine you're going to have in front of you so that you will be set up for success. But I'm guessing you probably want to know the start date. And I know this may sound weird because we've scheduled the start date to be on April 7th, and that's actually a Thursday, but that's by design because we want to make sure that you have your kickoff call, that you've got access to all the preparation material, you've got a full weekend ahead of you so that you can plan and prepare. So the start date is April 7th, but you'll actually start the nutritional component on that Monday, the 11th. And what we'll do is we'll work to reset your metabolism. You can expect that you're going to lose weight, you're going to regain your energy, and you're going to start looking and feeling like your old self again. I mean, Carol, I'm almost 50. I'm just a couple of months away now from 50, and honestly, I feel better now, and I've lost 30 pounds. I actually weigh less now than what I did before I had my two daughters. Mm-hmm. And to me, I know that's amazing, right? I never thought that day would come.
Yeah, that's great.
So joinjanine.com, that's the URL. And Carol, I think we probably have some questions. If you've got any questions, go ahead and type them in the chat window. And that way we can answer them for you.
And yes, we've got questions. We love questions. Tara is asking Janine, are the meal plans that you've talked about, are they fixed? Or because we travel, are they flexible?
That's a great question. I love that question. The meal plans are a guide, if you will. They're a suggestion. And what I want to do is, you know, if you're the kind of person who doesn't want to have to think about what to have for dinner, and if you really want that one-on-one guide, that's why I designed the meal plan, so it took all that thinking out of it. But if you're the kind of person who is perhaps more creative, or you need more flexibility in your particular lifestyle, think of it as a guide. And with each week, I mentioned that there's a call that tells you the guidelines, it tells you the focus area for the week. If you stay within the guidelines, you can be as flexible as you like. And if you're dining out, I'm going to give you a bunch of dining out suggestions so that you can stay on the program without having to stick to the meal plan that I designed 100%.
Terrific, terrific, terrific. Okay, another question. And this one came to me via email. Someone asking about gluten, and they said they need to stay away from gluten, period. And so are the food items in the plan gluten-free?
Yes. So many people have gluten sensitivities, and you can see there's so many instances nowadays of celiac disease, and that really has a lot to do with the way that the wheat is processed nowadays. So every recipe in my recipe book that I prepared with that Whole Food Chef is 100% gluten-free. Now that said, if you don't know if you have a gluten intolerance or not, during that 28 days, I would recommend that you try it, not from the recipe book, but try it just to see how your body responds, because you want to learn that as something, as an outcome of doing this program, so that you know, and it can help support you with choices in the future. But coming back to the question, Carol, every single recipe is 100% gluten-free.
I know, and that's not a food I have added back in, and which relates to our next question, bread. Do they have to give up bread forever? And I could swear I could ask that one because I just love bread. And so talk to us about some options there.
Yeah, I know. I think bread has kind of been a staple of so many people for so many years. You don't have to give up bread forever. Obviously, if you are celiac, you have to have gluten-free bread. But if you learn that you don't have a sensitivity to bread, you could certainly go back to eating bread. You may not want to eat it in the same quantity that you did previously, but in this recipe book, I have the best recipes for gluten-free bread that you're going to love. And I have some really flavorful ones that are very savory. One of them I love to have toasted in the morning, and I just place a poached egg on top, and it's a delicious way for me to be able to start the day. But you don't have to give up bread forever, and you'll certainly learn that there are different options to the traditional bread loaf that we came to rely on.
I know. I've been experimenting with almond flour, and it's been really fun baking with that. So the next question, Janine, I'm actually going to answer if you don't mind.
Go for it.
Will I be hungry? I tell you, that's one thing. I don't know if it's this fear deep inside of me. I'm afraid of missing a meal. I'm afraid of getting hungry. You should see how many foods I have in my laptop bag when I'm flying because I don't want to run out of food. And no, you actually will not be hungry. It's amazing, these foods, because you're feeding your body the right things, the right fats, the right vegetables, the right, everything. I was not hungry on any day, not at all. I was shocked at that. So anything to add to my answer?
Oh, I think that's great. I mean, that's the thing. We actually don't want you to be hungry. By the time you're feeling hungry, and it's the same, by the time you're feeling thirsty, your body's already dehydrated and you've already started to slow your metabolism down. So when you feel that kind of famished where you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so hungry, yeah, you're not doing yourself a favor at all. We want you to get in the habit of fueling your body every few hours. And that's really what's going to turn up your metabolism. So I don't want you to be hungry. I'm going to work with you to figure out what foods or, what the right meal plan is for you to sustain you and get that metabolism working up on high.
Yay. Okay, so there's a few other ways that we can keep taking questions. You can email me, Carol@smartwomentravelers.com. A lot of you have my email address. Janine's email is in this presentation. So if we don't get you in this chat, you can get us those other ways. And please ask on anything. And so
Carol, I just had a quick question come in. It was related to working out, if you don't mind.
No, tell us the secret to not have to work out.
Well, actually, the question came in the form of, do I have to stop working out? And, everybody has a different way that they get physical activity incorporated into their life. And I mentioned to you that I'm not a big gym junkie. I'm not the kind of person who likes to go and work out in the gym. That's just not for me. I think the beauty of living in Colorado is that I get to do a lot of hiking, and I have 2 dogs, and I usually take my dogs for a walk. And I'm active with my 2 young girls. So I don't have to go and sign up and go to the gym for 2 hours a day. But some of you actually really love that. I mean, that's where you get re-energized and you like the environment of the gyms. And again, you've got to do what works for you. I will tell you, when you're starting a new program, it does take a few days for your body to adjust. And so just in the first few days, I do not recommend doing a workout. In fact, I want you to take it a little bit easy, maybe do some yoga or some stretching or just go for a light walk, because we still want you to be active and be moving. But you may want to have a short break from actually doing a heavy workout for those first few days. And then after that, your body adjusts and you can go back to what your regular workout routine is. Or what I'm going to be doing is actually working with you and finding different ways that we can I use the word sneak physical activity into your life such that you don't have to feel like it's a chore. But you don't have to be a gym junkie, and you don't have to be a couch potato to be successful on this program.
I'm sitting here thinking, have you and I ever like worked out when we've been together? And I don't think we ever have, except for like our wrist movement as we moved our wine glass up to our lips.
Yes, for a lot of years that was my exercise, right? I would be doing those. Well, let's think about that. They were the 6-ounce curls, right? The 6-ounce arm curls.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. That was our exercise back then. Yes. Okay. Let's let these folks get back to their day.
Well, I just wanted to say thank you so much for inviting me on the call, Carol. I had so much fun putting this together and sharing the information with everyone. And if you really did enjoy what you heard, or if you're even curious about it, go ahead and check out joinjanine.com. I have a lot more information actually on that page, and that's where you can go ahead and register. And Carol, I know you're going to be doing the program, right?
I am joining again. Absolutely.
So if you'd like to join Carol and I, we would love to have you in the group. And I really do hope that I see you in the community.
I know, Janine, I'm so honored that women and men from around the world have joined us today. And I hope, and I think we've given them some tips on how to travel more, way less, to do it on their own. And I hope that some of them want to come play with us and say, let's do this together because it'll be a heck of a lot more fun. And so, if any of you have any questions, we're both available. I think you can tell we're both pretty open and fun. So just contact us, and, wishing you all the best of success and that you can travel more and way less.
Bye.
Everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.